Welcome to Minding Your Gold Mind podcast, brought to you by Sports Wolves. Training your mind is a sport. My name is Ari, and I'm your host. The goal of this podcast is to explore the infinite depths of the mind, share my personal experiences in training my mind, help you mine the gold in your mind by sharing practical ideas, experiences, and stories to help you on your journey. In this episode, mental health is a gold mine or coal mine. You decide. Gold and coal represents a spectrum of mental health. Each is on the complete opposite. Coal would be the abyss, depression, or hell, pure terror, pure fear, all pretty much synonyms. On the complete opposite side, we have gold, which is bliss, peace, heaven, pretty much the ideal of what everyone shoots for. Every decision you make, no matter how small it seems, shifts you in one direction on the spectrum. And the more you can become conscious of these decisions you make, the more you'll be able to affect your life in a positive way and redirect your life consciously and really choose how you feel and choose to accept your emotions no matter how negative or positive they are, understanding that they're kind of like tides of an ocean. They're always flowing in one direction or another, and learning to kind of ride these waves, as I would phrase it, is really effective in helping your mental health in general. So I just wanted to start out by sharing some of my mental health journey for the past 2.5 years. So I had never really thought too much about mental health. In our society, we're really taught to look outside, and as a guy especially, we're not really taught anything about our emotions, or that men aren't supposed to be emotional, they're supposed to be strong, not supposed to cry. And going through depression as a freshman in college was definitely the most eye-opening and completely perspective-shifting event in my entire life. And there are definitely a lot of causes to what causes anybody to be depressed, but I can only speak from my experience, and it really all comes down to the core of I was worried too much about what other people were thinking of me. I wasn't looking inward for validation, I was looking outward, trying to please other people and what other people thought about me. And that's a trap that a lot of us fall into, because if you're going around trying to please other people, worried about what they think, you'll never be completely happy, because there will always be people that like you, there will always be people that love you, there will always be people that dislike you, and there will always be people that hate you just for being exactly who you are. So unless you're exactly living in your truth, firm knowing that this is who you are, you can't live your life trying to be somebody else, is what I pretty much learned on this journey. I would also say that knowing this now and not being able to take responsibility in the time, that I take full responsibility for basically causing my own suffering. And I would say that basically the core of it was my inability to simply let go and be present in the moment. And what I mean by that is there were a lot of events in my past and thinking about the future and thinking about these thoughts pretty much on repeat and clinging to them, believing them to be real, when in reality the only thing that's actually real is right here and now, the moment that you're actually experiencing. So you're putting too much stock into these thoughts, these negative thoughts that happened in the past, or negative thoughts or fear about the future, and that stuff was just rattling through my mind, and I didn't really have a good way to cope with any of that. And the more you cling to it, the longer it goes, from 1 day to 2 days to a week, 3 weeks to a month, and you're 2 months in, you believe these stories you tell yourself in your mind to be 100% true without questioning them. And meditation was just one of those things I learned that really helped me to observe my thoughts more objectively and kind of silent my mind to get to the point where I realized that none of that stuff was even real, and my own suffering was and anxiety was self-caused. Now, that might not be the same for every single person if it has something to do with physical ailments or something, but in my specific case, anxiety and depression was caused by my clinging to my thoughts and my inability to simply detach and just be myself in the present moment. And throughout my journey, I realized there's a huge stigma, a huge silence about mental health in our society as a whole, which I want to help break. And I realized that through my journey, we're all going through a very similar experience. Some people may have lower lows and some people may have higher highs, but it's really all on the same path. they're all very similar experiences. And the more we can help share our stories, even if this could just help one person that's going through a similar experience, sharing something, it'll have been worth it. So in my experience, the way that I kind of climbed out of this abyss, as I would call dealing with depression, is by going through my own self-love experiment. And I got this concept from reading a book. It was called Self-Love Experiment by Shannon Kaiser. I would highly recommend it for anybody going through anything. Even if you're not going through mental health issues, it really gives you a framework of how to basically go through your own self-love experiment, treating your own life as an experiment, trying new things, basically finding what you really love to do. If you're young, you probably don't really know what your passions are. I really did not have any passions 2.5 years ago. I didn't try any new things for fear of rejection, fear of embarrassing myself, fear of people judging me, thinking of me as weird and different. And this book really gave me the freedom to then go on my own self-love experiment, which started as me just journaling. It ended up turning into about a 350-page journal/book where I basically, I wouldn't say overcame, but I basically put all of my emotional baggage and garbage on the table for me to look at consciously, for me to then understand the roadblocks I had. And it was very beneficial in just overcoming everything. So one thing that really helped me on this journey was journaling and just understanding my emotions, letting myself feel these emotions, even though they're terrible, pain, fear, all these negative emotions, they're not going to go away by just suppressing them and pretending they're not there. And that's what I did for a while. I thought that was how they would go away because I had never really taught anything about emotions or emotional intelligence, and I was going into it completely blind. So going through this experiment, I learned a lot about myself, more than I had ever known in the first 20 years of my life, about what I really enjoyed to do, and I realized that I really enjoyed creating art, which eventually manifested into poetry and music, and to me self-publishing my first poetry book, You Know Who You Are, which is loosely chronicling this journey of depression to heaven, as I would call it, basically finding self-love for myself and for others. And through this, I found healthy ways to express myself and express my unique, authentic self. And everybody has completely different passions, completely different wirings. We're all unique. But everybody has one or two things that they love doing, that they would do for the rest of their life, no matter what, whether they're getting paid for it or not, that makes them feel complete, makes life worth living. And if you don't have those things, well, I wouldn't really worry because you're just one step away from finding it. For the first 20 years of my life, I don't think I had ever written a poem. Maybe I wrote one, and I realized poetry was just one way for me to express myself creatively and emotionally, to help me find out who I really was, and to help put everything into perspective. And then that led me down the path of music. And I had never played an instrument. I bought a ukulele my freshman year in college. It sat unused for a whole year before I even summoned the courage to use it. I'm still not very good at it, but I make music with it, and it's very healing. It's just fun to learn new instruments and break out of your comfort zone, trying something new and really putting yourself out there. On top of that, as I said, I read the Self-Love Experiment book. I got really a lot into reading. I found so many books that were so beneficial to me, books that I'd never been shown in college or high school, which is honestly a shame, but I'll be talking a lot about specific books and specific books that helped me. A couple other things that really helped me were meditation. That's another thing that I wish I had learned in school, but I'm glad I had learned it now. Meditating, I'll talk about meditating a lot, but one thing about meditation that people get a misconception of is that you need to be some type of monk, or you need to be able to sit in a room quietly with no thoughts for 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour. When I first started meditating, I could barely do it for 5 seconds. There was infinite thoughts flooding through my mind, absolute chaos, which anybody who has never meditated before is the natural thing that's going to happen. But with everything, with consistency, discipline, patience, over time I was able to build it to 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to a minute. And every milestone is just a new obstacle. And over time I could go 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it really adds up over time. Meditation is hard. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's easy, and it doesn't come naturally. It's honestly funny how the hardest thing for us to do is to do completely nothing, just sit there and breathe. Because when you're just sitting there and breathing, a lot of stuff comes up that you don't want to face. It's the reason why you're always looking outside, because all the stuff going inside you, it's always going on inside of you, but you don't want to face it. And again, you can't be suppressing this stuff. When you face it with love, you meet it with compassion, you accept it for what it is, you can then transmute it and turn this coal, this emotional suffering into gold, self-love and inner peace. And it really just brings a whole new depth to experience, a whole new depth to life that I never knew was even possible. This kind of inner silence that you can have on a daily basis just by 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of silence. It's amazing how it honestly lasts through your day. And on top of that, starting to do yoga, it's the same type of principles. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just stretching and conscious breathing, you'd be surprised how far that goes into any single aspect of your life. Another thing that really helped me escape my comfort zone is cold showers. And I know what you're thinking, that's so dumb. How would that help you overcome depression? I thought the same exact thing. There was a point where I was honestly getting hopeless and I didn't know what to do, didn't know where to turn. I remember Googling how to cure depression or cures for depression on Google, and the first thing that came up was cold showers. And I thought that was the dumbest thing ever, but I was desperate and I really had nowhere to turn, no one to talk to, because, again, I really kept this all bottled up because of the stigma. I was afraid of people judging me. So I tried cold showers, and instantly I realized that these people were onto something. I mean, it's scientific studies, these people know what they're talking about, but I'm not going to lie, pretend to know the science to it. But I know that, for one thing, it has really helped me escape my comfort zone. It's really shown me that it's probably very beneficial to your physical health, but it's absolutely beneficial to your mental health. And when I say cold showers, I don't take the entire shower cold. You definitely could do that. I was inspired by Wim Hof. I saw advice on him. That guy is tapped. But taking a cold shower, I take a regular shower warm, and then before I turn it off, I keep it cold. And it was the same thing as meditation. The first time you turn that cold after your shower's done, you can barely stand it for a second. The next time, you can do 3 seconds. Next time, 5. And it builds up gradually over time to the point where I could stand in there for 2, 3, even 5 minutes if I wanted to, and just stand there and breathe, meditate, just feel the water on you. And it really shows the whole cold and gold, the whole spectrum, hot and cold, they complement each other. They're opposites. You wouldn't be completely at ease, happy if you're only taking hot showers your entire life. And I know this for a fact now because after doing this for about 2 years, I would never go back. I would never just go to only hot showers. It keeps you comfortable. It doesn't allow you to grow. It keeps you... Obviously, luxuries are a good thing, but if you're stopping them from letting you grow, you're just growing weaker instead of growing stronger. So the final piece of advice, or just sharing from my experience, is that I really broke through my comfort zone by trying new things, seeing what worked and seeing what didn't. And there was a lot of stuff that didn't work, but the stuff that did work, I keep doing, building these new habits. It's really a game of building good habits and eliminating toxic negative habits. So I would have habits of getting up late or not getting enough sleep or getting too much sleep, kind of finding your own inner balance and knowing what's right for you may not be right for me, and what's right for me may not be right for you, because we're all unique. But there are definitely some things that are universal to us all. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it. I hope there's at least one thing you could take away from this, even if it was just understanding that we're all going through these situations. There's always somebody you can talk to, and training your mind is a sport. Mental health is a gold mine or coal mine. You decide. Make that choice. Make it a conscious choice. Yes, this is Mining Your Gold Mine podcast. I'm Ari. Until next time. Peace.